is just an extreme example of what goes on all the time on Dig. The people who run Dig are constantly having to break up these juntas that form where people will form a group of diggers and they'll create an email list and I'll dig your story if you dig my story, and then we get all our stories on the front page. And there's been a series of oustings, actually, where people who are top diggers get kind of ousted from the community because they are revealed to have these kind of secret email lists where they dig stuff. But pretty much anyone who's popular and successful on Dig or on other sites like this, like Reddit is another good example, and a lot of other social media sites that aren't edited, you really have to have a gang of friends who you're constantly negotiating with to get your content on the front page, which means that sort of unpopular content falls by the wayside. I found my notes. So basically what I'm talking about is an emergent kind of censorship. It's not the old kind of censorship. It's a new wave, or it's a new type of censorship that I think we're going to be seeing more and more. And I want to give you a few more examples and just talk, but before I do, I want to talk about a few of the characteristics of this new kind of censorship, this new kind of corruption in social media that we're going to see more and more of, and that I think we as skeptical consumers of the media should be aware of as we're going into the future, where you're getting media from peers as opposed to from news organizations, large corporations that hopefully you already don't trust. And this, I guess this is reasons to not trust the other organizations too. So one of the things about the new kinds of censorship that I'm talking about is that it's coming from the bottom up, not the top down, which is to say groups of people collaborate together to destroy free expression. It is collaborative. You can't do it, very rarely can you do it on your own, that you can eliminate unpopular speech from a social news site. Usually you have to have some kind of group that you're working with. And this is a really important issue. The next one is that this kind of censorship places an undue burden on speakers. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. And that comes out of sort of an American idea of what free speech is and not necessarily a European one. And finally, these kinds of censorship may be punitive. And I'm going to talk a little bit toward the end about griefing and trolling and how that kind of inhibits free speech in social media spaces, but there's also a good side to that. And also, I included at the end this notion that this kind of censorship may or may not be within the terms of service of the different social networks where it's taking place, because sometimes it actually is within the terms of service of, say, Dig, that you bury stories that are unpopular, but that doesn't mean that it's not censorship and that it's not sort of socially troubling. So let me go through a few quick examples specifically about how censorship of this kind places an undue burden on the speaker. And actually there was a very interesting talk a couple of hours ago about search engine censorship, and I feel like some of the stuff has already been gone over, so I can go over it fairly quickly. But one of the characteristics of social media networks like Flickr or Blogger or other kinds of like music sharing networks is that when you put your content up, like when I open a Flickr account, which is a photo sharing service, and I put up my photos for anyone to see, there's always a way for other users to flag them. And actually, here's an example from Blogger, which is Blogspot. It's Google's blogging service. And so you sign up, and so this is actually a really fantastic blog, building blog. It's, I highly recommend it. But what you can see up there, I have the red arrow pointing, is it says flag blog. So you can read the blog, but as a user, you can also flag the blog as having objectionable content. Now, if enough people decide to get together and flag this blog, it will stop being indexed by Google. So I can find it because I know it's buildingblog.blogspot.com, but if I search on it, it's not there anymore. So it's disappeared. People have gotten together and although they haven't eradicated speech, they've placed a burden on the speaker. They've made it much, much harder for that speaker to be heard. And in U.S. law around free speech and in our first, interpretations of the First Amendment, which is the amendment where we talk about free speech, one of the issues that gets brought up over and over is that free speech isn't just the right to come up and yell about how much Google is great and Microsoft sucks, but also it's the right of the speaker, the person who's speaking, to not have burdens placed on them in order to talk. And those burdens could be anything from suffering harassment in their community to actual, like, financial burdens. Like, if you want to talk, you're going to have to pay $10, or you're going to have to pay €10, which is even worse. So this kind of burden is that if you're going to say what you want, you may have to not be searchable. Or you may have to fight with Google and say, actually, my blog deserves to be searched. I think I just lost, anyway. So there's a lot of other sites that use the flag button. And they're quite aware. I mean, this is actually from Blogger. If you look up there, they actually have said the flag button is not censorship, and it cannot be manipulated by angry mobs. The fact that they say that indicates that they know that it has the potential to be a form of censorship, and actually it can be manipulated by angry mobs, because if you get 50 of your friends to flag a blog, that's going to severely inhibit the blogger's ability to get heard. So I like that they have this disclaimer here. If you think that you've been flagged in error, you can petition Blogger and you can say, hey, I'm an unimportant person that you don't care about using a free service. Please help me. Yeah, good luck with that. I can tell you stories, but I won't. Here's another example of flagging. This is on YouTube. This is from one of the best movies ever made, Ghidorah versus Godzilla. But you know, I think it's a little inappropriate for YouTube. So here I've flagged it, and I have an opportunity to pick why I'm going to flag it, and so I'm flagging it because there's physical attack, okay? A three-headed monster is attacking a one-headed monster. I'm offended, very offended. So I flag it, and a message gets sent to YouTube. I've actually, for the past couple of days, I've been having a back and forth on email with some of the lawyers at YouTube about their flagging system, because unlike other sites, YouTube will automatically take stuff down, like a bot will remove content if it gets enough flags of the right kind. And I've been trying to get them to tell me which kinds of flags and how many are required before it gets taken down. And they're being a little bit closed-mouthed about it. But when I publish a version of this paper, and I'll put a link on the wiki, hopefully I'll have a concrete answer from them on that. But it definitely is automated. So you can test it out. Go pick on the Ghidorah video and see how many flags it takes before it gets automatically removed without any human oversight. So again, you can see how that might function as censorship. No human oversight whatsoever. Me and my friends go in to persecute Ghidorah, and look what happens. Flickr is a really interesting case. Again, Flickr is the photo sharing social network. People use it a lot for political purposes, as well as artistic expression and just, vacation